Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Judith Rodin, President of the Rockefeller Foundation.
Hello and welcome. We'll let the last group of people come in. If you're in the back, come on in and get seated. And let me say welcome to everyone and thank you so much for joining us. We meet here today at a place of great significance to the Rockefeller Foundation's centennial. You're helping us to celebrate it, of course, here at the headquarters of the American Red Cross. This glorious building was built with support from the Rockefeller Foundation in 1913. Indeed, it was our very first grant as a foundation, kicking off a century of what John D. Rockefeller and his colleagues would call the practice of scientific philanthropy. While we were one of the first on the block doing this work when we started, we're now joined by a rich array of other philanthropies and nonprofit organizations, multilateral institutions, and social entrepreneurs, and so many of you are with us today, and thank you again for being here. Together, we're part of an amazing ecosystem, an entire ecosystem, which is dedicated to celebrating and accelerating human progress and well-being. And so while the Rockefeller Foundation turns 100 this year, this actually is a celebration of all of us. But I don't have to tell this group, perhaps, that we party a little differently in philanthropy than in other sectors. We're often impatient. We don't want idle small talk. We'd rather focus on the big ideas. And so today, we've designed a program to kick things off with a robust exploration of some of the big bets that have great potential to really create transformation. Bets on ending political gridlock or re-envisioning economic recovery for an entire community, changing how individuals give to causes, ending deadly pandemics, expanding approaches to assuring diversity, among many others. And while each big bet is different in texture and different in specific goal, each requires a willingness to, in fact, a requirement, if you will, a willingness to embrace risk. And philanthropy, we know, has the ability, and I might say the obligation, to take risks that other sectors cannot. Businesses are beholden to shareholders and the next set of quarterly earnings. Governments, of course, to voters in the next election cycle. But philanthropy doesn't have these constraints. In fact, being willing to place big bets, being willing to take risks, is maybe one of the best ways that we hold ourselves accountable to our stakeholders. And there is no innovation without risk, and no innovation without at least some possibility of failure. What kinds of risks is philanthropy uniquely positioned to take? First, as I suggested, we may be uniquely positioned to make big bets that others may feel are too controversial or too complex or simply too unpopular. For example, tonight we honor a visionary leader in this work, Sir Elton John, who created his foundation over 20 years ago because he recognized that fixing and recognizing and trying to prevent the stigma that surrounded homosexuality was actually critical to solving the AIDS epidemic, which was such an unpopular view at the time. Or consider the current work of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, promoting contraception in the developing world, including many places where there are deep and abiding cultural barriers. Second, I'd say we're able to combine unlikely partners that maybe would never have happened otherwise. I'm reminded of Barbara Streisand coming together with Rupert Murdoch at the Clinton Global Initiative to make a commitment to climate change. More recently, at the Rockefeller Foundation, we brought together G20 leaders with Ashoka Changemakers to identify innovative finance models for small and medium-sized enterprises using Changemakers' global crowdsourcing platform. Third, philanthropy has blazed trails, launching new fields that broke down old orthodoxies, fields like public health or African American studies, molecular biology, and urban studies have all been built through philanthropy. By nature, I'd say field building involves a good deal of risk. It promotes changes in behaviors or new ideas or systems that often have opposition and certainly don't happen overnight. Fourth, philanthropy sometimes practices risk by simply removing it from the equation. By providing early capital, for example, we can often de-risk the investments of others and bring in commercial investment behind us to take programs to scale. As one example, when the city of New York wanted to build 30,000 new units of affordable housing, a group of foundations, including Ford and Robin Hood, Herron, MacArthur, Starr, Gimbel, and Rockefeller, along with the New York Community Trust and the Open Society Institute, came together and put together the first $36 million, the first tier, which was risk capital. By guaranteeing that we would absorb the losses, it allowed commercial lenders such as JP Morgan and HSBC and others that had a lower risk tolerance to provide the second tier of debt, about $200 million. And as a result, in only a few short years, this partnership enabled developers to build thousands of units of affordable housing, with more in the pipeline. In this way, philanthropic capital is actually some of society's most precious risk capital. I would say it's what our tax-advantaged dollars really entitle us, enable us, require us to do. Finally, we can and must take risks within our own organizations to create a culture where failure isn't a dirty word and where innovative thinking, which is inherently risky, is encouraged. How do we know if we're taking enough risks? I sometimes have told my board that if everything we do succeeds, they should fire me. I see it as part of my job description to ensure that we're taking enough risk. Even if a few don't work out as planned, those that do often way exceed our expectations. That doesn't mean we should begin taking risk for risk's sake, but rather that we should align our big bets with the rewards that will move us closer to achieving our missions. And we should do it in ways that draw not only from our strengths as philanthropy, but from our strengths as individual institutions. So today we've asked a very distinguished selection of big bettors, not only to tell us what bets they're making, but how it draws from a core competency of their own organization. I look forward to thought-provoking discussions and presentations, and then we're going to have a panel led by Steve Clemens of The Atlantic. Finally, we will close tonight with a cocktail reception and dinner emceed by Gwen Ifill. We will honor our Lifetime Achievement Award, Sir Elton John, hear readings from the very compelling Poet Laureate of the United States, Natasha Trethewey, and unveil a crowdsourced art project by the talented Phil Hansen, highlighting the impact of philanthropy. I want to thank you again for joining us for this occasion. I look forward to spending a great day and evening together. Thank you.